But for everyday use, you won't pull it off.
That's right.
I know because, well, it's obvious.
Okay, where are we here? Okay, so we are now live. So let's welcome everybody. It's tuning in today for another episode of the Heroes Reborn After Show review. And with me always is John. How you doing? How you doing today, John?
I'm okay. There, Glenn. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. I watched last night's episode twice. I felt it was that good that I had to watch it twice last night. But let me get my TV.
I'm very sorry that I get to see it before you did, but like I promised before, no spoilers, and I kept.
Well, as soon as I was like, oh, I got off the internet as soon as and I wasn't responding to any of my messages anymore on Facebook and G+ and Twitter anymore, just because my luck, I'm like, oh, I'll see a spoiler, I'll be all upset about it. But the only thing I knew for sure last night was that Parkman was coming back. So that was the only guaranteed thing that was going to happen that I knew for sure. But lots of good twists. I really felt like this episode, the last episode, and I think it was Game Over, the 3 Matsuoka ones were really, really good.
Yes, I believe so, but I guess you could say I have sort of my grievances, but we'll discuss that.
We'll discuss. We'll get to them. We're going to save those to the end because I know there's a lot of passion there for you on that one. So, some of the highlights here: we got Carlos before a review board in the military regarding this. Kind of touches base on him becoming home as a war hero, apparently saving 4 American soldiers, fighting the Taliban. And we find out that actually it is Farah is the one that actually saved those people, and basically told him if he can't deal with it, he better learn to deal with it, and kind of, if you're not a hero, you should become a hero so you can accept, that these responsibilities of sorts. Seems like there's a little bit of a budding romance there. He tries to give her a kiss, and she gives him a nice smack across the face. But now, does that make Carlos's story any more interesting now that we know that there's that connection with Farah and him, and we know that he's come home now and he's kind of lying about who he is, or he's assuming this role of an army hero, which he didn't earn? Does that really affect how we feel about him, or?
So this is the way how I feel. I believe it's called a military debriefing. I could be wrong. If any military watchers are watching, if I'm mistaken, please correct me. On top of that, I believe the story was the commanding officer stated that 2 of your unit was killed, 4 of you made it back. And they were clearing up which story was which, and I believe she gave a version, and then he corroborated. Now, the end of it, yes, I was really surprised to see a budding romance. That was totally left field. Did not see that coming. I didn't honestly think that there was a real connection between the two. I thought that the 2 of them were separate. But now that we learned that Melina is actually a Marine, that really intrigues me. That intrigues me about her backstory, what kind of character she is, especially as, a Muslim woman. Because, what with the times that we live in now, it's nice to actually see a hero that, in today's world has been more or less vilified, I'm very sorry to say. But yeah, she and him, it looked like a budding romance that was cut really short. And this goes back to what I said before. When you have romances on heroes, it really doesn't last long. That seems to be the converging variable that never separates. It's always there.
Well, that's true. There's always we go through the history of all the romances, and yeah, they've always turned ugly. Tyler and Elle always comes to mind. How that one ended. That was always a beaut. But so we got so Farah has gone to. She's been called to Angela to become Melina's, I guess, trainer or protector or whatever we want to call her. We all know what happens there. Will it change with the timeline? I don't think so. Even though they've kind of stepped on a couple of butterflies, I don't think Farah or the Haitian or anybody else or Molly Walker is going to come back. I think their storylines are going to stay the way they were. They're going to keep going forward. I don't think we're going to see any of them coming back. But Farah kind of said something that was kind of funny when she's talking to Angela. She says, she looks over at Melina and says, "We're doomed." I don't know why she would even say that word "doomed." Was it because it was a 15-year-old girl that's supposed to be the savior of the world? It was no different when Claire was save the cheerleaders, save the world kind of thing. She was a late teens as well. So I was kind of surprised that Farah was kind of looking down on this girl as if, oh, well, how is she going to save us? But Angela had her vision, so and I don't know what the connection is between Farah and Angela, other than Angela being the former owner or running Primatech. So I don't know if she's a former employee or what her actual connection is to Angela, but maybe we'll find out. I don't know if any of the original cast members are going to be in the upcoming episodes, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we know what's happened to Farah. She got killed off in the premiere episode. So
well,
I
if
don't
I
know if we'll
could
see.
throw out a couple of theories on what she said, we're all doomed. Theory A would be, for one, let's face it, now that we learned that she's a military Marine, when she's told that the savior of not the United States of America, but the whole entire world rests on a 15-year-old child that is looking up like she's, playing with butterflies in the air, I'm pretty sure she probably can't really swallow that, considering that, Marines are gung-ho, militaristic, hands-on, gun, those type of type A personalities, those type of characters. And theory B is, well, maybe she's a pessimist.
Okay. Yeah, no, that works for me. That works for me. Then we're on to Ichiro and Miko. So it's kind of, the picture's kind of bright there. Sorry about that. But that's him touching the computer and recreating Miko. And I gotta say, I love her in that outfit. That's just me. I think she's very pretty in that outfit. I love the character and I love the actress. I've been doing some research on her lately, and I'm going to probably be following what she does outside of Heroes as well. So, but there was kind of their reunion. He's happy because he's kind of recreated his daughter with the image of this Katana girl. Obviously, she died when she was fairly young by the looks of it. But what did you think of their reunion? It's kind of like, was it? There's a little bit of emotion in that scene. Like he was kind of like he got to finally say goodbye to his daughter. I'm guessing that he didn't get to. It sounded like she died in an accident in the before the series, of course. But it was kind of I felt it was kind of like he got to say goodbye to her. That's all he really wanted to do. Plus, give Hero a way out of the game, essentially. But what were your thoughts on their kind of reunion?
Okay, so it kind of leads me back to our very first session together, Glenn, when we really didn't know anything about Miko. She just appeared out suddenly, and she didn't know who she was, and she's wandering around this apartment, and she can't figure out what to do. She was a blank slate, suddenly being knocked on the door by Ren. And now we see the backstory of it, of how it all sort of played up and evolved and developed. What's interesting to me about Ochiro was the fact that, you know, he really had a backstory of having a wife and having a kid and losing the kid. And now he, being the pawn of Erica that he was, and suddenly, you know, he had epiphany and he suddenly remembered, yeah, I really probably shouldn't have done that. And, you know, not only did they lock him out of his own game, they were going to kill him. And he said, practically, screw that, I'm going to make amends, and I'm going to, he basically, like any other, I guess you could say, like any other, you know, person that has an epiphany, he went from pawn to, I'm going to turn into a hacker, and I'm going to hack my way into redemption. So here we have Katana Girl, facsimile or a reinterpretation of his dead daughter. And might I add that when you say she's pretty, not exactly the term that I would use, although it fits. I would say hot. My theory on that is hot women in tight and shiny clothing usually equals very good ratings. Because, as you could see, I'm a 7 of 9 fan, and we all know the Star Trek Voyager series went up 600% when she was introduced. And Eliza Dushku as Faith Lehane wearing tight leather pants, that worked well for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So when we have Katana Girl entering, I'm pretty sure the sex symbolism was there.
Oh, I agree. I remember, and I think it was like the second or third episode where she dressed up as the character in the game, and she went into the where they kind of infiltrated Renata. So I'm like looking at it, I go, I don't know how she does it, but she pulls that costume off. It's like very, very attractive young woman. Let's see what else we got here. So there's kind of the goodbyes of sorts with the dad. Like you said, Harris comes to pick him up and obviously kills him. The one thing I found interesting in their conversation was when she first kind of comes out of the game, and she's kind of looking around. I don't remember all this. She goes, I don't remember this. I don't remember that. And she says, I have that emptiness. I have an empty feeling inside. And he says, well, you're hungry. Well, it's kind of like, no, you're an artificial. You're not real. You're just a game character that I pulled out of the game. But I thought that was kind of you're hungry. I thought that was kind of funny. No, you're empty because you don't need food to live. So.
In a way, it's kind of like, the comic book version of spinning in politics. I don't mean for you to talk about this. I want you to talk about that. It's called spinning.
Yeah.
Politicians use it all the time, and Ochiro definitely used it to his advantage. Very slick, Ochiro. Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just hungry. Come on, let's go eat some sushi.
Yeah, let's go. So we've got Luke and Joanne. I don't have any stills, but of the earlier part. But they found their son Dennis, and now they're sitting in this hotel, kind of watching the news roll in about what's happened. And then they get the knock on the door, and up shows Mr. Freeze, I'll call him. And he's come to find Luke essentially to thank him for saving his life, which has irked Joanne to no end. She's already blaming the Evos for everything. Everything is coming through on the news is Mohinder Suresh is responsible for all this. So she's really pissed off about this. This guy's showing up out of nowhere. and they had their little struggle, and then Luke attacks him, and he kind of is just about. He's not trying to kill him, but he's got him in a death grip there, and he's essentially frozen his throat and his face. And next thing you know, we got Joanne grabbing a pair of scissors and I don't know, stuck in the back of his skull or the back of his neck or something. But that scene itself, even my wife said when she was sitting there, she says, "That woman's a psycho." she enjoyed that way too much because that look she had where I've got it in another still along here somewhere. She was like, it was almost enthralling to her. She's like, "Oh, there it is right there. This is a great feeling."
So I watched that scene with a lot of intensity, and there's only one. There was, to my mind, I actually thought of one comic book character that really plays up to this sort of, I guess you could say, pivotal sort of circumstances. And I know it's going to be surprising to you, Glenn, but I thought of Batman. Now, why do I think of Batman? It is this. If there's a parallel sort of arc between Joanne and Batman, or should I say Bruce Wayne, it's the fact that they experience death in a very tragic sort of way. When Bruce Wayne, lost his parents, it came to a point where even as a young child, he learned about A, death very soon, B, what it felt like to absorb it and to develop it, and most importantly, what to do with it. Now, we learned that Batman arcs into, we learned that Bruce Wayne arcs into Batman through wanting to fight crime. And, by the way, in polar opposite of Joanne, he has the idealism not to kill anybody. No matter what the crime was, he never kills anybody. Joanne, on the other hand, is the direct polar opposite. When she obviously felt the crime, she looks like she's going through some post-traumatic stress disorder through it, and instead of going the Batman route, she went into full-on rage in that blaming capacity. And in doing so, when she plunged the knife into that Evo, my thought was the very first word that came into my mind when I saw that look in that face, that scene that you saw, bloodlust. You are right. She loved it. She was engulfed by it. It gave her a thrill, a surge of probably adrenaline. And something tells me that was the turn of the worst and made her into not necessarily a psycho killer, but a serial killer in some ways.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Yeah, no, that was it was. I actually enjoyed seeing. You know, we started off the series with them opening up and blowing everybody away at that meeting at the beginning, and it was kind of. I enjoyed seeing how did we get to that spot. Yes, we learned that their son died in the opening episode, but we got to see the backstory to it, and we got to see the first kill, I guess you could say. And as you can see, Luke, he was right away. He didn't enjoy it, but he kept saying it was necessary. We had to do it. We had to do it. You know, we're defending ourselves, kind of thing. And I bet you if we see everybody that they did actually kill, he was probably the same way the entire the whole year they were driving around killing all these Evos. I'm pretty sure he was kind of like, let's go home the whole time, right? I think, for them, there's going to be there was no end game. No matter how many they killed, she wasn't going to be satisfied. She was, well, yeah, she's basically gone off the deep end, and he's kind of like, oh, okay, well, we discussed before about his redemption, I guess. So when we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with him, because something big's got to happen with him, because he's got to be involved with Tommy and Melina somehow. Otherwise, his character was pointless if they don't do something with him.
Well, I always wondered, these couples split not just by, I guess you could say, a very, very fraction of a second divorce, but in a way they fractured against each other as people. What they once were is practically gone. It's practically obliterated. It burned up in that burning house. She became someone else, and he became someone else. And it's obvious the two people that they eventually became, the two arcs, did not coincide with each other, and they just repelled away from each other like magnets with the same end, you know? And it's actually quite fascinating in terms of a plot device. But, you know, I'm just wondering, for Joanne, all she has left is the bloodlust. That's it. She has no meaning. She has no purpose except for the kill.
Well, I have a funny feeling we're going to see her at the end of this, when we're all done tonight. I'll play next week's trailer, and there's a little something in there if you haven't seen it yet about her. So we'll come back to her for sure before we're done tonight. So Matt Parkman comes back last night, and I kind of enjoyed seeing the evil. I sold my powers to the highest bidder, Matt Parkman. I kind of liked his little evil turn of sorts. Eric has essentially told him, by the sounds of it, that she'll take him when the big disaster comes, and he'll be one of the evils that survives. What did you think of his return last night?
I have to admit, I did not see the evilness. If I remember correctly, after he lost his the speedrunner, after he lost, they became married, right? My memory is fuzzy. I think they became married, but she died, and I guess he was kind of like in a limbo. So seeing this, and he eventually became FBI, I think, right?
Yeah, in season one, he got associated. He was helping the FBI in season one, and then in the 4 years future, he was married to Daphne in the future Parkman. But when Peter screwed that up with the timeline, then he went, and then they ended up, they weren't married, and she died anyways, kind of thing. So, yeah, he was married to her in the 4 years future, but then everything got changed. So,
yeah. So,
and they had a kid together too, because I remember Molly was living with them, and they had a baby. So it was kind of weird. That was also when Siler had a son as well. So it was kind of that timeline that would have been an interesting timeline to explore. But anyhow,
right.
Yeah. So
going back in Matt Parkman's back history, seeing him right now, kind of weird. I was like, he was a good guy. Why did he turn bad? And why is it playing out this way? But until in the very end, when we see him after the interrogation, you know, whatchamacallit, we see him pulling the gun on Noah, and he's like, I can't do it. I really can't do it. It's like, fine, just take him and go. You know, I was like, he was bad, but, you know, under the circumstances, I changed my mind. Just leave.
Yeah, and with Matt Parkman being bad, I like him kind of being kind of a badass. But do you remember? I think it was in the first season when they did kind of the it was season one, where Peter saved Hero and Ando from the future, and Matt at that time was a bad guy. He was trying to capture future Hero for whatever reason. That's where that was the episode where Siler was pretending to be Nathan, and then they ended up having a little fight there at the end that we didn't get to see, and future Hero got shot. So we saw Matt kind of show his shades of bad guy back then, and it's almost like they played on that storyline still, where he's a company man now. It's all about his family, and he's kind of said that. The Renatus is going to take care of him and his family, which of course they're going to get screwed over because she doesn't care about the Evo. She doesn't like them. But yeah, then what's his name? Casper with his penny rolled. I thought that was kind of funny because I'm like, how Parkman was about to get the information about the kids, and just conveniently the penny came out and Noah stepped on it. But I think what you were saying about Noah changing his, or not Noah, Matt changing his mind. You probably part. I think the reason why is because once he found out Claire was dead, I think it kind of set in his mind. Well, hey, how would I feel if my kid was dead, and I'm using my telepathy to pull this information out? I think he felt pretty bad about that. That he essentially screwed over an old friend.
Very good point. I guess you could say I phased over that part. Yes, it is correct. Matt Parkman learning about Claire, I guess, really did make him stop and say, wait a second, am I doing the correct thing? Is what I'm doing really for Erica's best interest, or should I let my conscience take over? Which I'm kind of glad that his conscience did take over. Because without it, he could have easily shot Noah and solidified his evilness.
Yeah, it was kind of. I'm kind of surprised that we just got that little. I don't know if we're going to see Parkman again or not, but it was nice to see him, and it was kind of funny. Greg Grunberg on Twitter this morning said, "What was his tweet?" It said. He goes, Matt Parkman shows up on Heroes Reborn, ratings went up. Coincidence? I don't think so. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I still agree with your theory that Katana Girl outfit, that increased the ratings for me.
What's that old saying? Sex sells.
That's right. That's right.
It never gets stale. It never ends. It's like a universal, you see a really thin, attractive model suddenly eating a quarter-pound cheeseburger, and you're like, really? Seriously? Okay, I'll buy it because she's sexy, but models really don't chomp down on those things unless they're going to burn it seriously in the gym the next day. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but here's an attractive woman, buy what I'm selling you. And with Katana Girl, you're just like, okay, before in the before series we had who were the primary sex symbols? You could say it was the cheerleader, Hannah Panettiere. You could say it was Ali Lauder's Nikki, Jesse, etc., etc. On the male side, you could say it was Nathan Petrelli and Peter Petrelli. All of them decked out, and sometimes when Peter Petrelli was in a shirtless scene, I'm pretty sure all the fangirls were oohing and eyeing. For Claire, cheerleaders have that sex appeal. It comes with the territory. And Katana Girl, I'm not surprised. Really, I'm not. Because unfortunately, to me, Asian girls usually have that sort of sex symbolism that Asian men don't, like myself. But going on, yeah, it plays into the sex sells continuum.
Well, I like that. I said any woman that she's beautiful, can handle a sword, can kick butt. That's a trifecta win for me. So.
Might I add, that same formula also applies to Michonne from The Walking Dead.
That's right.
Big fan base for her too. Same type of, same weapon, same, not exactly the same clothing, but it is tight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and how they move around it, I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure latex and leather is pretty stretchy.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, I don't have any either in my wardrobe, so I don't know.
Well, if you ever felt latex, it does stretch. It's pretty, it molds itself to whatever shape it needs to be. So
Oh, so here we're arrived at the part where the hero storyline last night. So what was it? Hero and Angela have arrived in Odessa just 15 years earlier. And one of the first things Angela says is Tommy's an ability absorber.
I believe you mean Nathan.
Or Nathan.
Alias that the nurse made up.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's right, Tommy. Yeah. So Nathan is a ability absorber. Now, you and I talked about this before when we were talking about Claire. How good is it possible for her to die? And I remember saying, we were talking about it, was if there was another Arthur Petrelli type character, and the one thing Angela says is, well, Nathan's uncle and grandfather had that ability to take powers. Now, Peter really didn't have that. He was an empath, but his season 3 power became he could touch people and absorb their power, but he didn't take it away from them. He could just mimic it. So it was kind of a weak version of the empath. But Arthur's was definitely, I could steal your power and you're not going to have anything left. So we've got that answer now. I don't know if anybody's still going to be happy, though. I think that's going to, regardless of us having the answer, I think people are still upset about it. But that was, to me, that was the only way that they were going to get away with it. If somebody actually absorbed her power and took it away from her, and essentially she died there on the table because she had nothing to regenerate, and everything hit her at once, as we discussed before. There was no way she could come back from that unless, short of, I guess they could, if they would have known back then, they could have just took Nathan's blood and gave it back to her, and she would live. I don't know, but that was kind of, I don't know. Did you find that you had some closure with the Claire character when they revealed that part?
Okay, so here were my thoughts back to that part. Okay, so we have Claire, who is dead. I said in previous sessions, I don't buy it. How do you buy it? A person that is practically unbreakable, unkillable. Sylar himself admitted it. You cannot die. Even if I wanted you to die, you can't die. How do they explain this? Taking away her powers is one thing. Here's the plot hole that I see. It goes back to season 1, when we're introduced to Peter Petrelli. Here, and this is why there was a big following of Peter Petrelli. His power was, I guess, to what us gamers call OP, overpowered. A lot of controversy was the fact that is Peter Petrelli and Sylar the most overpowered Evos of all of Heroes? And the debate, I remember in forums, people would debate it back and forth. Who was the more powerful? Was it Peter because he could mimic, or was it Sylar because he could take? And the weird part about it was Peter Petrelli's powers were nerfed somewhere between season 2 and 3, when they said, okay, you can't have all those powers you just absorbed. You can only have one at a time. And whatever power that you had previously is lost, and the new power takes its place, which felt kind of like, it cheapened his powers, but okay, fine, I'll roll with it. Now, going back to, if Nathan, the brand new Nathan is like that, then in a way, shouldn't the power that, if he took Claire's power and somehow, survived the ordeal and whatchamacallit, and she took Hero's powers, wouldn't the old body of Claire generated itself, because the powers possibly, theoretically, returned back to Claire's body? Even though she's been dead for X amount of years, I'm pretty sure her body is still there and can regenerate itself. to me, it felt like a bit of a plot hole that, Tim Kring didn't really anticipate, and he tried to explain away, but I kind of saw it through it. And second of all, when you take Hero's powers, which Nathan pretty much did, I didn't really recognize Nathan's powers. I thought he was just like a transporter, like you said. But, we didn't see him moving through time. That part was, I guess you could say, withheld from us. So we couldn't see that he took Hero's powers. Otherwise, if he could move through time, we already knew that somehow and somewhere along the line, he did take Hero's powers. Now, the whole entire sort of thing where the separation between the two, separating brother and sister, I'm not too sure if I buy it. They were there to begin with. I mean, if anything, even as a baby, why couldn't the baby take the sister's powers and then pass along the power back to Hero? That doesn't make any sense to me either. It could have been done in either way if it can be done as a baby. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I had a little bit. I actually thought about that too. If they're both in the womb at the same time, I even though I have a child, I don't know how inside the womb works. I don't know if there's a lining between the two of them, and maybe that kind of stopped it. I don't know, because I imagine when Nathan came out of Claire, that's probably where it happened. And then with Hero, I am assuming when Hero was playing with him, going coochie coo, all of a sudden he's like, I can't teleport anywhere. What the hell? But no, in the Heroes universe, there's nothing that can't be undone. Like we've seen that with Nathan Petrelli. Like we're going to string along a character that's been killed 3 times into a 4th season, and it's not really him. But I can see, like you said, with the well, if Nathan can only hold one power at a time, what happens to that old power? Does it just become null and void, or does the person who originally had it get it back? That's actually a good idea. That's actually, like you said, it's a plot hole. And if this does get picked up for another mini series, hey, that's something. If Nashville crashes and she can come back, and if they can arrange it, hey, that would work. I think maybe that's what Tim did, was he's created a couple plot holes or a couple loopholes so he can come back and visit it. Because even with Hero, like we'll come into what happened with Hero at the end, because there's a couple ideas I have there with him as well. What I liked about this scene is when they're all at Hero's home, and Tommy, Nathan gets to meet his grandfather for the first time. That was kind of cool. It was kind of like a big family reunion with. Who did we have? Casper and Noah and Molly and Hero, and I don't know Nathan's mom's name. I'll just call her Nathan's mom. Now, the one thing I kept thinking about was with Hero, and I know you've mentioned it a lot of times, and you're very passionate about it. Is he never gets a love interest? What did you think? Because there's a scene I'll bring up here in a bit, but he finally got the love interest that I think the fans have been waiting for him to get. He never got to go with the cheerleader, and that would have been probably the best match. But he essentially didn't get Charlie. He got screwed on that one by Samuel. But now he's got Nathan's mom, or not his real mom, but they're both step parents essentially to him. So. But were you happy that he finally got a love interest?
Okay, so I forgot to mention the part where the before picture when he's holding Nathan as a baby, he says, "I don't know anything about babies." I was like, incorrect, very incorrect. You and Ando took care of a baby that had sword powers. Another factual mistake on Kring's part. Hero should have never, ever have said that.
That's right.
I forgot which episode it was and which season it was, but I do remember them being on the road and taking care of a baby in a Nissan, in a square Nissan car. And the car kept stopping, and they got picked up by a truck driver. and that truck stopped, and because the power was absorbed, I kept thinking to myself, what is going on? Krang should have known about this. He should have stepped in and said, no, we can't have him say that because of this.
Yeah, that was season 3. That was about midway through the season. Baby Matt Parkman.
Was that Baby Matt Parkman? Oh yeah, it was. I'm sorry. Yes,
Baby Matt Parkman.
Hero had no business of saying, I don't know anything about babies. I said, wrong. Totally wrong. Sorry, Krang, but you screwed up on that one.
That's true. I remember that they had the baby because Hero was told, what did somebody tell him? Was it in the comic maybe that he was told that he had to go save Matt Parkman? And then so he showed up at the house and the babysitter's like, I can't deal with this kid. And he's like, well, I'm here for Matt Parkman. Well, he points to the baby. That's baby Matt Parkman. Oh, okay. So, who essentially gave him back some of his powers. I think the time freeze, but not the time travel, is what the baby gave him back, is that part of his power. They kind of nerfed him. Like you're talking about nerfing Petrelli's powers. They did that to Hero, too. I think because the fact that time travel, he could have just undone anything he wanted to. I think that's why they nerfed his powers for a bit there. They gave him a tumor where he couldn't do anything. But yeah, I think there was some validity to those statements that Peter and Styler they didn't really nerf Styler so much because he got some of his abilities back, like his telekinesis, and he's got the lightning, and he got the important Claire power. So. But he didn't. I don't think he got any more powers after that. Oh no, he got the cloning, where he can turn into anybody he wanted to. He took that power. But I don't think he was as overpowered as he was in season 1, where he had collected 30 or 40 different abilities, but only used 2 or 3 of them at any given time. But yeah, I remember when they did that to Hero as well. They kind of just took his powers away from him and made him like a Peter at the beginning of season 3 when they got rid of his powers as well. What do we got here?
So you are correct. Going back into relationships, it just felt like turn back to what I said. Whenever anybody has a relationship on Heroes, it does not last long. If anything, it lasts shorter than a fly's life. Now, when it comes to Hiro Nakamura, the examples you have stated forever are on record. We're talking about Charlie. We're talking about the princess back in feudal times. I'm very sorry to say what her name was. We're talking about, now this. Well, I'll just call her the nurse, because that's all I really know her as, the nurse. It wasn't really so much as a relationship, so much as it was an explanation for why they raised Nathan, but Nathan, they didn't show it. If anything, it was the only real appreciation that I got was him touching the nurse on the back saying, our child. And I'm like, it feels like such a, I don't know, I hate to say cheap again, but more like a fledgling nodding, I guess you could say. That yes, he had a relationship, but we're not going to show it. We're not going to show any development of it. You're just going to have to take our word for it in our explanation. It doesn't, it lacked the appeal that he had with Charlie, because Charlie, at least their relationship bloomed, kind of like Nathan's relationship with the ice cream girl. We got to see it. We got to see how it developed. We got to see how, the two interacted with each other. With Hero and the nurse, it just, I don't know. It just felt like forced and a very the bare minimum of screen time. Those are my thoughts. I felt like Hero got screwed in the end. Even though,
I agree. I think, that kind of Hero did get screwed on that one. They were together for a long time apparently, because they went back in 15 years in time, but I don't think that was Hero's. That wasn't his plan, and I know he was being very thankful. Like you said, he gave her the hug, but there was no kiss. There was no like you said, it felt a little forced on him, but I don't know if he just didn't. I just don't know if he had time restraints on his time or what they were doing, but yeah, it did feel very. I didn't have the emotion, say I did when he said goodbye to Charlie. Even though they weren't together anymore, I felt this goodbye to Charlie meant something. The goodbye to the Japanese princess meant something. This one felt rushed, and but I was just happy that he got a love interest. I was, I was happy that he was happy.
I do too. In fact, also, and I like Charlie, an interracial relationship. Just that for a master of a master of space and time, he got little time, very little time, which I find very ironic, given his powers.
True.
And the fact that it was taken away from him. Once again, at the very ending scene, he brought a knife to a gunfight, which I have to say was very. It's like they made Hero not learn from his mistakes before about chopping up Harris in the garage. Put down the swords, Hero. Time to pick up a gun. Because apparently you saw Noah shoot Harris and him disintegrating. I'm sorry, Hero, but you really should have picked up a gun.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if they were what they were trying to do with that final scene, but I had to bring. I lost my feed here for a second, but I got it back. The Ninth Wonders comic that has him going Yatta the first time he went to New York, and him giving that to Tommy, saying, "This is kind of your guide. It was a guide for me, and it'll be a guide for you now." And I remember in one of the last episodes, a couple episodes ago, where Tommy was with, what's her name, Emily, when they were in France, and he found one, and it had the French writing on it, and it looked like them on the cover. And now we know why he doesn't recognize any of that kind of stuff, because he had to touch the pennies, so he didn't go back and try to save Hero. So, but it was kind of interesting when in this scene here where Tommy's in full control of his powers. He can teleport people back and forth to the past and the future, and that's where I was confused when they started the season, where he's like, "Well, I have no idea how to control my ability," and like, how the hell do you know how to control your ability? You've had it all your life. Oh, it's all because you've had your brain. You've been mind wiped. But yeah, I think I got a shot of the Harrises.
Or maybe it's better. Maybe also with penny wiped, we could also say you've just been Caspered.
Casper, that's right. So this next picture here, I thought was kind of funny because you can't really see it. Let's see if I can point to it. Right there. That's a picture of Hero with the baby. But it looks like Hero of season 1. So I don't know. They grabbed an old photo of him. But I saw that. I said, I got a screenshot that. That was pretty good. But as he said, here he comes in with double swords to take on 3 guys with guns. And he says to them, "I've been waiting 15 years to finish this." And then we got the last shot of him speeding at them with swords. And we don't know what happened to him. I hate to think that he's dead. But if he did die in this episode, if he is dead, he's still alive because he's still trapped in the game, because that timeline still exists. So he's still trapped in the game, and there's a way for him to come back, which made me happy. When I saw this part, I got upset about it. I'm like, you can't kill this guy off. It took me a while to accept that the cheerleader's gone, which maybe she's not. There's no Peter, there's no Siler. Now you're going to kill off Hero. That kind of pissed me off, and I was upset about it. Then I thought about it, and I went, well, he's still in the game, though, in the same timeline. He's still in the game. So there's ways around it, I guess. Like, I can tell him, well, hey, you're going to die this way, or you're going to have to do this, and we're going to have to step on a different butterfly. But I'm hoping that if they do pick up another season, another miniseries for the show, that like I said, I don't think Hawaii Five-0 will survive after the season, and that'll free him up. And he can do the 13 episodes maybe next year. We'll see, um, but yeah. So I don't know. I was more upset about the thought of Hero being dead as opposed to Claire. I don't know why, but maybe he's more relatable of a character for me. I don't know.
I'm totally with you, Glenn, 100% of the way. Not for reasons, because there's a lack of Asian American male heroes, but yeah, in a way, Hero was the universal nerd, the underdog, the person who you least likely expect to be a hero, and eventually did become a hero. Purely the good stuff of comic books, the good stuff of comic movies. The person you least expect to be a hero and did succeed in becoming a hero. Now, coming to the part where it's kind of, you don't know if that older hero is going to live or die. He could live or die. I'm going to vote likely no, but yes, you are correct. There is still a present hero still stuck in that game. When you're talking about time travel, it's hard, you know, it's hard to basically remember all the timelines that parallel each other. So when we're watching, like, Back to the Future or the Butterflies movie, you have to watch it twice or 3 times or 4 times to fully grasp and understand it all. So yes, I do agree with you, Glenn. I really hope that somehow, in some way, in some form, or in some shape, we will see Hero again, even after 3, just for the contracted 3 episodes.
Yeah, no, I'm really hoping. Like, as much as I don't want a show to succeed, I really hope Hawaii Five-O doesn't get renewed. I know I know lots of people love that show. I've never watched it, but the ratings go up for this show, and Hawaii Five-O gets canceled. Hey, I would say they would definitely have to find a way to bring Hero back. It would make no sense not to. Because to be honest with you, the ratings have gone up in the 3 episodes that he's been in, and they're still hovering about the 4 million mark, but they were down to about 3.75 in the 5th episode, and then he came back in the 6th one, and it jumped to about 3.8. And then in the last 2, it's been 3.95 and then 4 million. So the numbers gone up. But what the impressive part is, they're 18. The people they're catering to, the 18 to 49-year-old group, they were down to a 1.0 share, which is low, and that's kind of almost on the fence of not getting renewed. And it's jumped up to about a 1.5 with this last episode. So they said that's a huge jump for a show to go up half a point in 1 week. And it finished 3rd in the Thursday night rating. So that made me happy, because it went from they have like this thing called TV by the numbers, and the guy is usually spot on with what's going to get renewed and what isn't. And he's already predicted a bunch that have already failed. And he had Heroes last week being a 3 out of 5, and then this week he bumped it back up to 4, which 4 means usually you'll get renewed. So I'm hoping that the trend continues upwards, and maybe they're learning from this, bring back some of the originals. You're going to kill them off, which sucks, but it shows you that people still love the original characters, and Hero being one of the major ones. Yeah, I really enjoy. I looked forward to it. Like, when I got home yesterday, I'm like, is it 8 o'clock yet? Because I want to see some Hiro Nakamura. So I was nerding out for him. So I'm really hoping that they can do something with him in the future, or give us, if they can't do another season, give us a movie or whatever. I'll be happy with whatever they give us. Just put Peter and Hiro together in a mini episode or something.
Well, I remember after the syndication of the original Hero series, the forums rumored about a possible Heroes movie, and all I kept thinking was, well, it's possible, but that means you have to, A, get a brand new plot line, and B, you got to have everybody sign on. I don't know if it was going to fly, and Eventually, we learned it really didn't. But I'm glad that, at least the rumors were there and the people were interested. Now, for Heroes Reborn, well, now you're telling me right this and then that ratings went up a point here and a point there. I'm hoping the NBC executives see this and say there is potential. Let's discuss if we have room to keep this show and move it further, to move it forward. I'm hoping so. I hope NBC sees it.
Well, I think so too. And what I've read with these ratings, because I think the Nielsen ratings are a terrible way to determine what shows come and go. Because if the Nielsen ratings are good for your show, that means that the channel can charge more for advertising on said show. And the Nielsen ratings are, I don't know how many homes they have it in America, but well, let's just say 1,000 homes. I know it's way more than that, but if of those 1,000 homes, if everybody likes NCIS, that show is going to succeed because they're going to be watching it and they're going to be PVRing it. And if they're not into sci-fi or superhero stuff, well, shows like Heroes Reborn suffers. That was one of the things they didn't take into consideration with the first run, where I found out they weren't taking into account the PVRs, that it was being streamed online through their network. They didn't take those things into account, and the ratings were actually fairly good for those. But they're like, no, we want live television. Those are the numbers that matter because that's where our advertising is. Well, in this day and age, that doesn't matter anymore. It's more people are watching online or on PVR. I'm not watching Heroes Reborn live. When I get home and I put it on, it's usually 8:30 when I start it, because then I fast forward the commercials. So by the time 9 o'clock has come, I'm all caught up and I'm done. I hate commercials. I usually don't watch anything like The Flash or Supergirl, Doctor Who, whatever, until it's taped, because I can't be bothered to sit through the crappy commercials. I know what I like. I know what I'm going to buy. I don't need a TV commercial telling me this and that. I don't even care about – I love football, but in the Super Bowl, I could care less about the ads. I'm not watching the show for the ads. I'm watching the show for the show. And that's where it makes me mad about the Nielsen ratings, because they don't take that kind of stuff into consideration. They're all about, well, here's the box we put in your house is recorded. You watch this, this, and this. So that's what counts. I think one day they'll learn that there's other ways of tracking what people, enjoy and what they want to watch. So the one thing is they moved the Big Bang Theory back to Thursday nights, so the first half hour Heroes Reborn is going to deal with the Big Bang Theory. So, but they didn't do too bad against them this week. So Big Bang, of course, did like 13 million viewers, but they do that every episode, so it's not a big deal for them. So, and I don't think, for me, I PVR'd the Big Bang, so I just watch. I'll probably watch it tonight. I haven't even watched it yet, so so Heroes has priority for me. So, so we got the ending of the episode. Noah ends up Nathan sends his grandfather back into the future, and he comes across Quentin, who in Game Over we assumed was dead because Phoebe killed him. His own sister killed him. But it turns out that, he made a deal with the devil because Nathan stepped on a butterfly by shooting her in the leg. And Quentin kind of, I can let you die right now. She goes, well, if you do, you're never going to see your sister again. So they kind of came to terms. He's going to spy on Noah for her. And that was kind of a change of fate. That was a big butterfly to squish, because now Quentin's going to, essentially, he's going to backstab Noah. There was no, and then he got reunited with his sister, in a good way, as opposed to having dark matter shoved down his throat and killing him. So I don't know. What did you think of that? That was a kind of Hero was always talking about don't step on butterflies, but Noah himself stepped on quite a few the past couple episodes.
When he basically said to Noah, let's don't step on any more butterflies. You could see it on Noah's face, like it was just a fraction of a second, but you could see on Noah's face, like, okay, I'm gonna have to lie. I know I have to lie, but I hate doing this to Hero, but I'm gonna lie anyway, because we all know, even us, the audience knows we're gonna be stepping on butterflies. Second
Yeah.
of all, as much as it's kind of like a trade-off now, I remember thinking, oh man, it really sucks for Quentin. I like the guy. I like the character.
Yeah.
Slightly annoying at times, but yeah, I like him. Now we finally see him happily reunited with his sister, and suddenly he's a turncoat. He's a snitch. He's a spy. And for that matter, from a cinematic point of view, it's a really nice twist. As an audience member, I really, really don't like Quentin now, and it really sours me that he turned from good guy to bad guy in the Butterfly Crush. And I'm wondering how this is going to play out, and is Quentin going to see the error of his ways, or is he really now such a bad guy? And, how is this going to affect Noah? How is this going to affect Noah's grandchildren? And it just seems like, to me, there are more bad guys turning in the new timeline than there are good people, good guys, good people on the good guy, the good superheroes side. It seems that there's more bad than there is good. And I don't know how that's going to balance out, because to be quite honest, I think you need a couple more good guys in order for this to play out with a happy ending.
I was kind of, you're right there, yeah. And the thing with the bad guys is, Harris Prime he's not a bad villain, but I don't know. There's just something about that he's not evil enough for me. Like, and I feel he's kind of a weak villain. Because all it takes is all they got to do is figure out which one is Harris Prime as opposed to Harris Clone, and just put a bullet through his head, and he's done. Can't regenerate a brain, or can't clone his brain if it's blown out the back of his head. But I think we're going to see, like we still have to deal with Joanne, and now we've got to deal with Quentin. And who else? I don't know who else we're going to see come through the woodworks in the next couple episodes, but. No, I think you're right. We need to have a bit of a balance. We don't want to have too many villains outpowering the bad guys, or have the bad guys outpower the good guys. But we still have to see.
Outnumbering is bad too, just as much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, they outnumber him just by Harris cutting off all his fingers. There's 10 clones. So. I like how they did that in the last episode. They had him peeking through the door. I can't remember who he's watching. He was watching, I can't remember who he's watching, but Harris peeking through the door, and he's got a what do you call him, a weed trimmer or something, and he cuts his finger off. And I'm like, you carry that around with you? I guess he got to, because he's got to clone himself. So I just thought it was kind of funny. But let's see if I can bring up next week's trailer here before we sign off. See if I get that.
Thursday. He's the future's greatest hope.
You are ready for me to tell you about who you are. Claire Bennett's my mom. Yuri Nakamura is my stepdad. I was like, okay.
But know the truth about Tommy's past. Threaten those closest to him.
Kevin Johnson.
And when the timeline is altered,
What's happening? Come on!
who can you trust?
Not so fast. Quentin.
Heroes Reborn, all new Thursday on NBC.
So that was kind of, so we got a little bit of Joanne coming back next week. And looks like she's going after Emily. We've got Quentin, as you said, he's gone bad, and he's got a gun on Nathan. And what else did we see in there? But yeah, I think we're going to have some twists and turns coming up here. And then we still got to deal with Luke, and he's traveling with Melina right now. So, and then we got Carlos. Oh yeah, Carlos kicking the crap out of people in the background there. That asylum that he was put into. So we're going to revisit all that. But they have a lot to live up to after these past 3 episodes with Vasioka, and then they really stood out to me. And I think they're really going to have to really amp up either the action or give us another good plot twist or two to really, I don't know, just to take it up and step it up a notch, because I felt the last few episodes with the originals making appearances really bumped the show up for me, and I would hope that it would continue on into these new heroes, characters, storylines, and now that we've kind of seen how everything kind of started and evolved. So we'll see what happens. We've got another 6 days yet, so.
For the record, Glenn, how many episodes do we have left?
Sorry?
For the record, how many episodes do we have left?
That was episode 8, so we got 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 5 more episodes.
5 more episodes. A lot can happen in those 5 episodes, so I'm very nervous and anticipating.
Oh no, I agree. I'm anxious. Like I said before, if this is a show I could binge watch, I would watch the whole darn thing right now.
Because I have to say, looking at the previews, it looks pretty bleak. It really does.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a lot of death and despair, I think, in this next couple episodes, and I think with Quentin, and I think Quentin's going to end up dead again. It's essentially is what's going to happen. He's going to, Noah's going to have to make a choice. Look, hey, you're my friend, but at the same point, this is my grandson, and I choose him over you, and it's not going to end well there. And I think Joanne as well. I think what's going to happen with her, she's going to die at the hand of Luke. That's just my prediction. I don't know why I feel that way, but just that they've grown so far apart, and the irony of her killing these Evos and she dies at the hands of one. I could just see that happening. Maybe not by him, but somebody with a power. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next couple. We'll play week by week until the end. But I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen in the next couple episodes, because the next couple episodes are going to really build up for the final 3. And I don't know. I think the last episode is an hour and a half. I believe. I could be wrong. I may have misread that, but I think the kind of like all the Heroes finales were all an hour and a half. So I think this one is as well, which should be all right. I wouldn't mind an hour and a half, 2-hour Heroes episode. So
I think all of us Heroes really want to do that.
Yeah. Well, John, once again, thanks so much for joining me and co-hosting the show. And we'll put out some feelers this week and see if we can get some people on the show with us here. And maybe I'll see if we can get in touch with Giselle. Maybe she'll want to join us next week. I read something that where she lives, she doesn't get to see the show till Friday, so I guess it makes it kind of hard for her to get on with us if she hasn't seen the show yet. But we'll see what happens. But otherwise, we'll do this again next week. And thanks. I see we've got 32 people watching via G Plus right now, so that's kind of cool. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and check out the Heroes Reborn community on G Plus. Join us, and then come and join us on the actual show next Friday if you want. Just shoot me or John a message, and we'll get you an invite the day of the show.
Absolutely. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your questions, your comments, your ideas, your thoughts. Good, bad, negative, positive. We want to hear them. We want to hear your different points of views. Who knows? You might have something that me and Glenn totally missed. And if you point it out, we'll be like, oh, we never thought of that. Thank you.
That's so true. The more points of view, like you and I we're fairly close in what we think, but sometimes we both say something that I wasn't thinking or you weren't thinking, and it kind of, if we have more people, the more ideas, the more thoughts, the more debating, theories and everything else that comes up. But yeah, so with that, John, have a good night. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see everybody next week.
And this is the Heroes Google Plus community signing off for today.
You got it. Good night, everyone.
Night.